So you're not going to necessarily see this a lot in NCFCA. But I promise you, if you start arguing topicality on this way, if you start arguing topicality using definition, standard, violation, voter, your topicality arguments are going to become strong. A lot of times what you see in NCFCA is people will spend 30 seconds saying they're not topical because they do this, and that's not topical, therefore you should vote for us. Now let's move on to 50 disadvantages or 30 solvency arguments or whatever. So that's not good because you just basically spend 30 seconds on topicality, whereas if they're not topical, then they're outside of the resolution. If they're outside of the resolution, I mean, you shouldn't even have to debate their case. That's a winning argument for you. If you want to win topicality argument, you want to run it in a way that's going to make sense to the judge. This way does make sense to the judge if you explain it the right way. Now, in order to be able to do that, you have to understand the theory and understand how the theory works. So, y'all are probably familiar with the structure, right? Have all of y'all been familiarized with the structure? Okay. So, do all of y'all think you understand the basic structure? Like, Jonathan, can you tell me what a standard does in a topicality press?
Can't remember exactly.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
I actually never read topicality presses.
Right.
Never learned it until recently.
Yeah, I never learned it until a year ago when I started doing this. I've been in CSCA for 5 years, but I never learned it until last year. So.
Yeah, standard is like the criteria or goal of what we should be doing with the definitions or limitations of what we should be doing with them.
Right. So the standard is basically the reason that you prefer this definition. Basically, the standard would be the reason that this definition fits the resolution. So the logical flow of the topicality argument goes like this. You have the definition you provide. You provide a definition of, say, greedy fingers in this case. You provide that definition, you say what the definition is. That's all well and good. Then you provide a standard. Now the standard shows why the definition should be upheld. For instance, I provide the standard of bright line. Now somebody tell me why bright line, why the idea of a bright line tells the judge that this is a good definition, that this fits the resolution.
It clearly shows us what's acceptable and what's not acceptable based on the resolution.
Exactly. So basically what the bright line says is that there's this line right here. These cases on this side of the line are topical. These cases on this side of the line are not topical. This bright line is something that this definition shows us. So because the definition gives us a bright line, it gives us a clear ability to know which cases are and are not topical. That's why the definition is good. So the standards don't even deal with whether or not the affirmative plan is topical or isn't. It simply shows why the definition is good. Yes?
Okay. From nationals, I'm learning, like it's totally confused now almost.
Okay.
So a standard is why, not what. A standard why to uphold the definition, not what's allowed in the debate round.
It's kind of both.
Because, I mean, what if you don't have a counter definition?
If you don't have a counter definition,
you can agree with it.
What?
You can agree with their definition.
Yeah. Yeah, you can agree with their definition, and then show, and then just you would go down to violations.
So standard is why to uphold the definition, and what's allowed under the definition.
Right. Basically.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sort of what's allowed under the definition is goes into standard and then violation also. Because your standard, like basically if I bring up a standard or bright line, I'm bringing up the reason that this definition provides a bright line between which cases are not topical. If I bring up a standard of limits, I'm providing a reason that this standard provides us with a limited debate. Because I mean, the purpose of the resolution is to give us the limits, so that people don't run, some kind of space case during a illegal immigration policy year.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically the reason for standards is to provide the reason that we should prefer the definition. Then the violation is just basically how they violate the definitions. And the voter is the reason that you as the negative team should win on topicality. I give the voter fairness, jurisdiction, education, ground. Those are 4 common voters that you could run. Basically what you want to do is you want to show the judge why this is actually an issue. Why this is actually reason alone to vote negative. And like when you're thinking about the case and you're thinking about what the judge should vote on, what should come if you're running a topicality press, and you're running then a bunch of case arguments, what should come first in the round? Right. Why does topicality come first, Luke? Yeah.
Topicality should come first because if you run what it does, because why we're here in the first place.
Mhm.
Because the resolution is the first thing, and then we talk about what if this is topical, then you move on to what the effects are of the argument.
Right.
If it's a different topicality state, it has different effects and arguments.
Right.
So this topicality is always the base of all arguments. All the other arguments branch off
Right.
topicality.
Yeah.
That's basically what I was gonna say is it redefines the limits so that what you're going to debate about, it's clear what is acceptable and what's not acceptable.
Right, exactly. So you're saying topicality is basically what's called a gateway issue. Basically, the affirmative team gets the right to actually debate their case only if they actually uphold the resolution. So you say topicality comes first, vote on topicality first, because if they're not topical, then it doesn't matter how good their plan is. Because if they're not topical, they violated the resolution. So, all right. Let's see. Let's go on with some more exercises. Why don't we have? Why don't we have someone run a topicality press against this same case? Let's have. Who's F in this room?
Who was that?
Yeah. All right.
Us.
Okay. Why don't you run a topicality press against your case?
Do you want me to run a topicality press against my case?
Is that the plural?
That's the one I didn't know about.
They said that it was like about the entire US us doing it.
Okay.
I didn't quite understand that topicality press though, and I thought it was weird.
Maybe, I mean, you could probably come up with a topicality press.
I could if I had time.
How much time?
I don't know, 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
No, I mean
I'll
not
give
like
you-
5 minutes, but that's a long time actually. I know. 2 minutes.
Do we end at 8 then?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give you 3 minutes.
Oh, 3 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Go.